anyone doesn't wish, there we go. The recording has now started. So please turn off your camera if you don't want to be shown. I would like to introduce you um, Tom, who is joining us here from Iowa, in Des Moines, and he is retired and lives with pain. Tom has been on a number of pain management programs through the Mayo Clinic, and not only does he live well with pain, but he has turned his retirement into a part-time job supporting people around the world with managing their symptoms. He has been so instrumental in so many people's lives in accessing clear messages about how to manage pain, and I really respect his Facebook group, Chronic Pain Champions, No Whinging Allowed. Throughout Tom's journey, I suppose he's picked up so many valuable lessons, and I'm so impressed by how clearly he communicates those messages, and also that he provides his ebook free on his website. So I'd really encourage you all to look at that, because there's certainly a lot that can be taken from that. Tom, I'd like to invite you to just share part of your story and part of your motivation for putting so much work into supporting other people to live well with pain.
Fantastic. Well, first of all, thank you for having me tonight, or today, or whatever time it is, wherever you're at, and inviting me to share this story and talk about the book that I've written and the work that I'm doing now, because we all need a purpose in life. So this is my purpose now. Now that I'm not working, formally working, this is my new job. So it provides my purpose in life without having the stress of a boss. So it's wonderful. But my chronic pain story started back in 2009. And what happened to me is I had testicular torsion. I don't know if you know what that is, but it required emergency surgery. So I was rushed to surgery, had surgery, and everything was fine. Typical thing. I've gone through surgeries before, no big deal. A few weeks later, the pain didn't go away, just stayed there. And kept going back to the doctor, and the doctor would try different medicines and suggest different things, and we tried different things. It just would never go away. As we all know, we all have chronic pain stories to tell. So that's how mine started. And it's localized groin pain for me. It's nerve pain. And it's pretty much a constant pain for me. So that's why I started out in 2009. In that time, I kept looking for a biomedical solution. And I looked for a biomedical solution for about 3 years. In fact, I'm from Des Moines. I traveled to Chicago, which is about a 6-hour drive from Des Moines, to have a risky denervation surgery in my groin, just so I could get rid of the pain. And it was a risky surgery, and I traveled 6 hours to do it. I found this gentleman on the internet, and because I was spending lots of time on the internet trying to find a solution to my problem. So I had that surgery. The pain felt better for a while, but it came back. I tried opioids. I was on opioids. I was on almost every kind of medicine that they could prescribe for me at the time. And Lyrica, all that, none of it was helping. So I had actually, at this point, I traveled to Washington, D.C. one day. I flew out of Des Moines early in the morning, and I had an appointment with a gentleman, a doctor at the Georgetown Clinic there at the Georgetown Hospital. And the whole point was to do some sort of a denervation surgery again. This is another specialist that did this. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is going to be fantastic. And I worked hard to put together a binder for this doctor of all my medical records, everything that was going on. And I went to see him. The doctor said, oh, yeah, we can have that surgery. And I'm thinking, okay, great. That's fantastic. So I fly back to Des Moines that day. And I'm talking to my wife about it. And she said, well, let's think about it. And about the meantime, same time, my family doctor said, Tom, I think I have a program for you to attend. It is the Mayo Clinic. They have a pain rehabilitation center there. And that might be a good thing for you to go to. And I said, is it gonna get rid of my pain? And he said, I think it'll be really good for you there. And so I had another surgery that spring, an emergency surgery, unrelated. And I was following up with the surgeon for that surgery. And I asked the surgeon, I said, okay, because my wife wanted me to go to this Mayo program, but I really wanted to, get fixed, right? So I thought, okay, this is a perfect time. We're going to go see a surgeon. I'm going to ask that surgeon what I should do, whether I have surgery or go to this program. So I asked the surgeon. And I explained to him my situation. And he said, Tom, what caused your problem in the first place? I said, surgery. He said, Tom, why would you want to have another surgery then? And it just clicked to me then. That makes sense. Why have another surgery when surgery caused my problem in the first place? And a prior surgery didn't solve the problem. So I was just putting myself more at risk. So I went to this program at the Mayo Clinic. It's a 3-week outpatient program. I did this back in the fall of 2012. And I went through this 3-week program, and I walk in there, and it's very nice. And they're like, I'm like, okay, when am I going to see a doctor? Well, you don't see a doctor. When am I going to talk to someone about my groin pain? You're not going to talk to someone about your groin pain. I didn't get it. But over those next 3 weeks, I got it. And it was a very important lesson to me. It's chronic pain always can't be cured. So that was the important lesson I learned. And I learned how to accept the pain, to manage the pain, adapt to it, to change the way I thought about the pain, and to manage it with tools like relaxation, deep breathing, distraction, gratefulness, mindfulness. So I learned how to manage the pain, to live with it, which I was doing very well for about 6 months, till I went back there. I actually went back to the Mayo Clinic 6 months later. I went for a follow-up program. It's a day program. And I went to that program. The day before the program started, my wife and I were shopping. And I sat in a lawn chair at a department store. And as soon as I sat in the chair flipped backwards. I hit my head on shelving as I fell backwards, boink, 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 until I hit the concrete floor. And I had a little bump on my head, no big deal, a little tenderness in that spot, no big deal. I went that next day to the follow-up program for the Mayo Clinic pain program, went to the program, was very fine. A couple days later, my head starts hurting. And I mean, really hurting. And I go see my family doctor. And he says, Tom, I think you may have post-concussion syndrome, but I want to get a CT scan of your head. And so when we had the scan done, he said, yeah, everything looks fine. I think what you have is post-concussion syndrome. And you're going to have to just take some time away, screen time and that kind of stuff. Just take it easy. Do what you can to try to minimize that and make it better. So went through that pain, that headache was a 7 to 8 to 9 for me on some days. most days at least a 7. And it was constant. It never went away. So that headache stayed with me. It just has not gone away. So, but shortly after developing the headache, it's like everything just kind of broke when I fell. Everything kind of just unsettled. What happened is I developed a ringing in my ear. I developed tinnitus or tinnitus. I started feeling tingling in my fingers and toes. So I developed a peripheral neuropathy is what they called it. I also developed some low back pain. So I went to see an SI joint, get some shots of my SI joint and that sort of thing. What else did happen after that? I started feeling random pains throughout my body. And those pains, just burning sensations, just random pains, chest pain that took me to the emergency room on probably 4 or 5 occasions. I went a couple of times by ambulance thinking I was having a heart attack, and it ended up just being chest pain. What I was diagnosed with was fibromyalgia. I was very tired as well. I have chronic fatigue. So all these things kind of just compiled. At the same time, I was having some struggles at work. I was struggling keeping up. And I was having some personal issues with my family, my extended family, not my immediate family, my extended family. So there was some emotional trauma for me going on and some stress, a lot of stress at work. So I just, it just compiled and kept compiling. At the 2016, I was finally diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And that was like, wait, what is fibromyalgia? I don't know what fibromyalgia is. My family doctor diagnosed me. So I went to see a rheumatologist in town. The rheumatologist said, Tom, you have fibromyalgia and you need to quit working. I'm like, what? At that point, I was actually walking my gait was really slow. I kind of limped when I walked. I was walking kind of hunched over in pain. It was like everything I learned at the Mayo Clinic went away. I had a new situation, new symptoms that I wasn't able to handle. And I'm still thinking these things have got to go away. They're it can't be happening to me. This can't be happening to me. I just couldn't believe it. I remember walking like I was talking about, and I'm going to say the word older ladies, because back then I was thinking I was in pretty good shape, and these people would pass me walking. And I'm thinking, what the heck is wrong with me? And that was walking to and from work. I reached out to the Mayo Clinic and I went to a fibromyalgia program up there. And I went to this program. It's a little 3 or 4 day program. And it was basically just to get another diagnosis, a confirmation of this fibromyalgia, this mysterious fibromyalgia that was affecting me. And they confirmed it. And I at that point, I quit working and actually stopped doing the job that I love. So that was very hard for me at that point, but it was very necessary for me at that point. 2 years later, in 2018, I went back to the Mayo Clinic because I was not able to manage this pain. I said, okay, I learned enough at the Mayo Clinic in 2012 in that 3-week program that to know that I'm not going to be able to, this is not going to get cured. There's not a cure for it. So I said, I need to go back and relearn those tools that I learned back in 2012 and apply those now to the new symptoms and conditions that I'm feeling. So I went back in 2018 to their 3-week program. And it was like a light bulb just clicked, again. And I relearned all the things that they had taught me back in 2012. So it was very important to me to get that refresher. So I did that, and then after after 2018, I decided I need to do something, provide a purpose. So I started a small support group here in the Des Moines area. And there just wasn't a big demand for that group. And it was kind of hit or miss attendance wise. And I thought, okay, I can do more good some other way. And my background is in marketing and advertising. So I used to write marketing materials for a insurance company here in Des Moines. So what I did is I thought, okay, I'm going to start a Facebook group, because I was out on the other Facebook groups on the internet, and I'm looking at them, and it's like they're all talking about their pain. That's all they wanted to talk about, is how bad they hurt. And that doesn't do any good. That just makes your problem worse, to talk about that pain and involves all those emotions over and over again, and to read everyone else's stories, and that just builds up that emotion, and then you're just piling negativity upon negativity upon negativity. So I started my own group, Chronic Pain Champions No Whining Allowed, and so started that group. And then I thought, okay, I need to also create like a website maybe where I can put some resources. So I created my website, Chronic Pain Champions, and I thought, I need to share what I've learned at the Mayo Clinic with everyone, and what I've learned over these last 12 years. So I wrote a book, and it's called Chronic Pain Won't Stop Me. And because chronic pain shouldn't stop us. We can learn to live well despite it. And so what I share in the book is what pain is, kind of like in layman's terms, just a quick, I'm not a doctor, don't claim to be. I'm not an expert in pain per se, but what I can do is explain what's the difference between acute pain and chronic pain. And a lot of people don't even understand that difference. So it's important to understand. The book also talks about pain, the cycle of pain, and how that happens, how we go through those different phases from, I'm mad, I'm angry about this, I'm shocked about this, I'm depressed about this. Oh, wait, I'm going to accept this now. And now I'm going to adapt to it finally and get to that point. So I talk about that in the book. I talk about how to diffuse the fear of pain, and especially through cognitive behavioral therapy, and how cognitive restructuring can help that, and changing the way we think about pain and the way we behave around it. One of the things that really intrigued me at Mayo Clinic, the first time I ever heard of it, was a term called catastrophizing, and another term called pain behavior. And they're very much tied together. And pain behavior means how you react to the pain. Are you wincing? Are you moaning? Are you bracing yourself to get up? Are you walking with walking sideways when you really don't need to be walking sideways? Are you using a heating pad all the time when you don't need a heating pad? Are you using an ice pack all the time when you don't need an ice pack? Are you constantly moaning, why me? Why me? When is this going to end? Why can't the doctors cure this? Why are you doing that? And then, so those are all pain behaviors. And those pain behaviors not only show that pain to your support people in your life, like your spouses and significant others, and then they react. And a lot of people, when they have that pain behavior, they want sympathy. And so they're providing sympathy when the support people shouldn't be providing sympathy. They should be providing guidance and support. And so what they're doing is just adding on, helping you learn that pain. And then you're learning that pain with a pain behavior as well, because you're just thinking, every time I moan and groan, I'm just saying I hurt again. And it's just telling my system over and over again that I'm hurting, because when I moan, I hurt. That means I'm hurting. When I lay in bed all day, that means I'm hurting and I'm just learning how to hurt. And I kind of learned that this along the way is you can either do nothing and hurt, or you can hurt and live life. And so I think we all have a choice. And there's the old saying, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And well, we don't get to choose suffering. We really do kind of choose it in our own way, because we don't choose to do anything different. So then we choose to suffer, because we keep looking for that magic bullet or silver bullet to cure the pain, instead of moving on with the pain. That's not to say when you accept pain that there won't be a cure someday, because there might be. We're hoping for it. That's going to happen. Hopefully someday. Hopefully someday we're not having this discussion. I like seeing all your wonderful faces, but I hope we're not talking about this. I hope we're talking about something fun. But it is what it is, and we have to just accept it and deal with it. So the book also talks about those self-management tools that I learned at Mayo Clinic: deep breathing, relaxation therapy, mindfulness, gratefulness, kindness, all those things that you can use. Distraction is a big one that you can use to help manage the pain and adapt to it. So the book also touches upon those. So basically what I did is I took the $40,000 program at Mayo Clinic and I put it into a little book. Of course, it's not a full complete program, and I recommend people do an interdisciplinary program or multidisciplinary program like that, but it gives you some basics for the tools. Also, the book also gives some resources and some articles for further education, and also links, provides those links to my website for the direct links to those websites, for those articles and resources. So that's kind of my story, Claire. I don't know what more you want to know. If you have questions about that, if you want me to dig a little deeper into something.
Tom, you're such an amazing advocate, I think, for everyone who's trying to find a way to live well alongside their pain. So thank you so much for sharing your story. I do have some questions, and I will take the chair's prerogative and ask them first. But if anyone would like to ask their question, feel free to raise your hand, or virtually or on the video. We are recording. If you would prefer not to ask it out loud, feel free to pop it in the chat. So, Tom, not whining is really, really important to you. Do you, on those bad days that you have, do you ever give yourself like a half an hour to whinge?
Yeah, I'm human, okay? I'm human. That it happens. It's amazing. My wife has come, because part of the Mayo program, which is really cool, the Mayo program, it's a 3-week program. 2 days is for the spouses or a significant other, a family member, to be there. And they have classes just for the spouses, for those people, for those support people. Mm-hmm. And then in those days, I also joined in on those groups. So we were there together part of the time. And so we could talk through things, and they could learn about what I was learning about at the clinic. Now, it's a funny thing about the whining, and that's what I'm getting to. My wife will tell me, Tom, you're whining. You're showing a pain behavior. She'll tell me that, which is great. Or Tom, have you showered today? Are you getting up and doing something? What do you got planned? Those are the kind of things that are so important. And yeah.
The gentle nudge.
The gentle nudge, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's I think that's a massive point of learning for me, is that I pay lip service to the social aspects, but unless somebody brings their loved one into a session. It's not something that I encourage. So it's absolutely, that's really what I'm taking away from what you said today, is that, not just looking at the person in pain and trying to support them to live a better life with pain, but actually bringing along their family with them, so that there's that sustainable change in the longer term.
Yeah.
And that's, I suppose, that's where it comes in about the different types of pain and learning to manage different types of pain. Do you notice a difference between how you manage your nerve pain and how you manage the pain from fibromyalgia and the post-concussion syndrome?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Now, biomedically, I use different things. So biomedically, I mean, I've used, I'm tapering myself right now with my doctor off of Cymbalta or duloxetine for my fibromyalgia. So I'm doing that because I'm finding, what I'm finding myself in is in a situation where I don't think I need the medicine anymore, because the medicine doesn't do me any good. I'm not, I still hurt every day. Don't get me wrong, I hurt every day, but I don't need the medicine's not taking the pain away. So why have the medicine? Now, that being said, I have Botox injections for my headaches, my migraines, and those have been wonderful. I'm not giving those up yet. I've tried passing off a few weeks, going a few weeks, and it's like, nah, I need those. So, I mean, there's still those biomedical tools, and that's fine. So, in terms of the different types of pain, no, other than biomedically, no, not really, because I guess pain is pain. So we're all doing all those tools that I talk about in my book that I learned at Mayo Clinic are applicable for all types of pain, all types of chronic pain. In fact, there were people there that didn't even have pain. There were people there with POTS syndrome.
Yeah.
And isn't that where they're dizzy and they fall?
Yeah.
So there were people there with POTS syndrome. This program, I think, would be perfectly for someone with tinnitus or tinnitus, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
There were people at the program that I'm trying to think of other conditions that they had that weren't directly pain related, but I know there was a couple others. But they encourage people, they consider that still pain and treatable for pain. So it doesn't make any difference. We weren't divided up at the clinic in terms of, oh, you have fibromyalgia, so you're going to be in our fibromyalgia program, and you're going to be in our migraine program, and you're going to be in our low back pain program. It doesn't make any difference. We went through all the program together. Yeah.
And you felt that was beneficial to have the different ranges of experience within the group?
Tell you the truth, Claire, I didn't even know what some of these people had, their pains, because we didn't talk about them.
Great.
We didn't talk about our pain. They didn't encourage it. Now, maybe that was brought up in the discussion, and someone's talking about, oh, my migraine said, this, because there was like one instance I'm going to tell you. There's a girl in our group. She had, every time she walked into a mall, the smells would trigger her migraines. And especially if she was around one of those bath and bed stores, bed and bath stores, and all those smells would just trigger her migraine. And so she actually brought that up when we were talking in our discussion. Well, at the end of the program, she actually mentioned that she went into a mall. She walked into a mall and she went into one of those bed and bath stores, and she walked around the store and she was fine. And she was fine. She could do it. It's just desensitizing ourselves to that and opening up our minds that because sometimes we have sometimes we put in our mind the worst things. Our minds can be our worst enemies. And we can think, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. And we can. we just got to believe it.
Yeah, that's no, that's a really great point, and I think it can be that's there's an awful lot of work that goes into that, Tom.
It's ongoing. It's
Yeah,
kind of like the old joke, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? You practice,
practice.
practice, practice.
Anne has just asked a really interesting question. Do you think fatigue lessens your ability to manage your pain?
I think fatigue does, because you're just tired. Um, but it's not an excuse. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it's an excuse. Uh, I mean, I find myself, Mayo Clinic recommends no napping at all.
Mm-hmm.
When we were at the Mayo Clinic, we were there from 8 a.m. till 4:30 each day, 5 days a week for 3 weeks. No naps. Um, so, and on the weekends, no naps. They don't encourage naps. If you do take a nap, they recommend a 20-minute nap. That's
Mm-hmm.
no more. I'll find myself sleeping an hour to 2 hours every afternoon. But because I'm tired, but it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse not to manage the pain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes we just have to adapt to what our bodies will tell us to do,
Yeah.
and how we perform best.
It is that balance that's so tricky for lots of people, and that's what I really respect about your group, is that just you're taking the benefit that you've had of going through different pain management programs at different stages over the last 12 years. And I think what can be really tricky for lots of people, especially here in the UK, where people get an episode of care and then discharged to kind of manage by themselves, is that um life changes, situations change, people develop new conditions, and actually you need support to learn how to adapt in new situations. And that's what I really respect about your group, is that ability for people to kind of go on and go, this is my problem, but I want to be proactive about it.
Mhm.
I want to learn how to cope in this new situation, and everyone seems hugely supportive of each other. It seems like
Yes,
a really, really positive space to be part of.
well, thank you. That's the goal. That's the goal.
Yeah, I think you put a lot of work into that, though. I think a lot of work goes into living well with pain.
Yes, most definitely. I had this conversation with Claire yesterday, and I was thinking over the weekend, in the two programs the three programs I went through at Mayo Clinic, I have almost 350 hours of formal pain training. I should say structured pain training. Most doctors in the United States get 11 hours of pain training in medical school. Um, and actually, one of the instructors at the Mayo Clinic said, by the time you leave this program, you're going to know more than most doctors. I remember him saying that.
Mm-hmm.
And what's I think is really cool is, at the Mayo program, there were a lot of med students sitting in our group discussions. So they were taking in and learning this as a medical student. So whatever specialty they go on to do, they were learning about pain.
Yeah. No, we have trainee doctors that come and visit us and sit in with us. So it's something that's hugely important, that I think more healthcare staff could really benefit from having a greater insight into people like those who are part of the Footsteps Festival, understanding what it looks like to live well with pain.
Yep.
That's great. I'd be really keen if anyone has any further questions to share them. But I think you've certainly convinced me, Tom. I'm already a huge advocate for your page and for the support that you offer to so many people. And I do think there's a you know there is no one size fits all, and I'm really glad that you have found something that's so powerful and helps you so much. And I would also say I've learned so much from you, you know, even this evening, and I've spoken to you before, but I really thank you so much for being so generous with your time.
That's
really valued.
that's again, that's my purpose now. So my purpose is to share what I've learned so we can all get better. I mean, I wish I knew 12 years ago when my pain started what I knew today. It took me this far to get to the point, but I wish I knew today what I knew. I think that's probably true any time in life, right? Exactly, with any of us. But if we can share those stories, those things with others and shorten their journeys, make their journeys easier, because a chronic pain journey is not like this, right? It's right. Yeah, I see the reactions exactly. That's what it's like. We're never, we're all over the board. So if we can smooth out those journeys for other people, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Helping others, and by helping others, we help ourselves, quite honestly.
I love your passion. I am not sure who's going to ask a question now, but I think it's either Louise.
Yeah, it's me. I just wondered, Tom, if you have any plans to bring your book out in paper form. You must have people that are willing to publish that, because it's just such a great book.
Oh, thank you. No, I have not explored that option. Couple reasons. I've thought about self-publishing myself, just through Amazon or something like that. I've actually had requests from a couple people, one person from Germany and one from France, who wanted to translate it. I'm not quite there yet with it. I'm technically on disability, and my income is limited by what I can do. So I tend to view this as more as sharing than that's why everything on my website and the book and everything is free. And I'm afraid, if I go to a publisher, they're going to want money for it, and they're going to pay me for it, and I don't want to be paid for it.
Which leads me to another point, really. I think I'm not sure what it's like where you are, but I find here in the UK that when you're on disability, it seems to be black and white for them. It's one thing or the other. You can't do a bit of work that you actually feel you could manage, because you get penalised for that. And so when you want to be able to do something great, like what you're doing, and the book, etc., you've always got to almost look over your shoulder in case someone says, see, I knew he was fit for work all along. And that's wrong. We've got to do something to change that. But yeah, I don't have the answers. Do you?
Yeah, I in the States here, I don't feel as much pressure with that. And maybe it's because I'm old. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
You're not old.
I'm getting close to disability. I mean to Social Security age here in the United States. But I think what it is for me is we have to have a purpose. We have to have a purpose in life. Just because we're disabled doesn't mean we have to walk around with a cane and go, oh, all day long. I mean, it's fine. Go swimming in the ocean, go swimming in the ocean. Do things, volunteer at an animal shelter, volunteer at a homeless shelter, wherever you may do. Volunteering is fine. And that's just providing a purpose. And if that purpose for you is work and paid work, and you can handle the stress and manage it, fantastic. But I don't think anyone should be penalized for having purpose. That just doesn't make sense to me.
I think that's a fantastic point, Tom. I think that's so important, and I think that's what a lot of insurance companies and the Department of Work and Pensions here have lost sight of, is that work is actually healthy. You know, having a purpose is healthy for people, and not all work looks like paid employment.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I don't spend 8 hours a day doing what I'm doing. I spend an hour or two. That's tops.
Tom, there's a great question here from Chris, and it's just looking back over the last 12 years. Is there one thing that was like the standout transformation in your pain management?
One pain?
One standout kind of moment, or one aspect of your care that has really changed the way that you manage your pain?
The Mayo Clinic. The Mayo Clinic. That's where it made a difference for me, is the Mayo Clinic. And just finding out that I can accept pain and I can live with it. And it's a lot easier and better off doing that than fighting it, because fighting it just makes it worse. So I think that was the best thing for me, is attending that clinic. The
learning to live with,
most definitely,
rather than fight with. Yeah, no, that's incredibly powerful. Thank you, Tom. If there's no more questions, thank you so much for your contribution this evening.
There's one more, Claire, I think. Jane, a question.
Oh, sorry, Jane.
Have I got time to sneak one in?
Of course.
I've interacted with you on Twitter, and it was just fantastic having the positivity coming from you. And you sent me some of the information about the pain behaviours, which made some really big differences for me. But my question is, kind of, how do you deal with people that aren't ready to be positive? Is there kind of, can you kind of see when somebody's ready for your message? And if they're not ready, do you not bother yet? Do you kind of try and plant some seeds? How do you handle that?
Yeah, good question. Good. Yeah, I think what I've found through the time that I've been doing this is not everyone is ready for this message. We're all different in our pain journey, and some people are still at the point where they're like in shock or denial, or they're the woe is me, I'm never going to get better thing. Again, that denial stage. And they're not ready to, to move on, keep moving forward. Yeah. And even when you move forward, I find myself moving steps back. We all do that. But so I don't know if there's a way to define it. I don't know. The question was how I can tell if someone's ready. I don't know. I know when people aren't ready, they get very angry with me. They don't like my message. They don't like pain behavior messages. They don't get it at all. And I mean, I've had people threaten me. I've had someone just snuck through your house, Jane.
Welcome to my daughter.
I mean, have someone said, well, let's hit Tom with a 2x4 several times and see if he goes ouch, or says ouch or something. And so it's not everyone is ready for the message.
Yeah.
And so what I just try to do with my message, especially on Twitter, is just short bits of information. And if it just opens an eye and just gets someone thinking, well, maybe there's something to that, and eventually I think it's like my point when I decided not to do the surgery, went to the Mayo Clinic. And then there's just a point, I think, when you have to say, there's something else. When everything's not working for you, then why not change? And I think we just need to get to that point.
Yeah. Thank you. That's really helpful.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Yes.
Because yeah, I would just like to echo that. It's really challenging, and in part I think it's a lot easier for I think as clinicians, it's a lot easier for people with pain to give some of these, I've benefited from positivity messages, but at the same time you are still getting threats of physical harm. So maybe it's not that easy a message to take at any stage, so.
I used to troll other Facebook groups for members. That's tough. But I would actually go out and if there was someone that I thought was kind of close to getting to that point, I would reply back with a message. And so it is tough. That is a tough thing to carry. I encourage everyone, please go out and check out my website if you haven't already. I mean, nothing I'm sharing is earth-shattering. Really, it isn't. It's what we've known has been working for years. I mean, that Mayo Clinic program has been around, I think, since the late 70s, early 80s. So it's been a program that's been in place for a long time. It's just so much more work than popping a pill or getting an injection or even putting an implant inside of you, for the pain. So there's work involved in what we have to do. But so there's nothing earth-shattering out there, and it's all easy stuff, and it's all free stuff that you can do. I have links to educational articles to help learn about pain, to manage pain. Some of them include my articles that I've wrote and other articles that other people have written. I've just selected things that kind of fit my biases, I should say. They're definitely fitting my biases in terms of pain management. And then also I have resources out there, links to actual free books, paid books, videos, other Facebook groups other than my own that I think are positive Facebook groups, pain programs. I have a few in England. I'm not whatever people have shared with me. In Canada, England, Australia, I think I have a few, but most of them are in the United States, but there's just not a lot of them. But go out there, check those out, download my free ebook if you haven't done that yet, and take a look at it. And you don't have to agree with everything I say.
No, I think it's really important just to have different viewpoints out there and just be sharing what has worked for people, because I don't think there is enough out there to show people that there is a different way of managing pain. I see Phil is here. Obviously Phil is sharing, he's also sharing different ways of managing pain, but you're few and far between.
Phil, I'm gonna have to look you up because I haven't it's not.
Well, I think I'm gonna try and nab Phil now and try and get him confirmed for a book plug for himself.
Well, I will definitely tune into that one. So
that's wonderful.
So yeah, please. Karen.
Oh, great! Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, sorry, Claire, I haven't got around to telling you, but I've been exchanging emails with Phil this morning. And
Fabulous.
He's very keen to come on and talk about his book.
Fabulous.
That's I just
absolutely wonderful.
Just to back up what Tom's been saying, really, and yourself, I think it's really important that those of us that feel confident enough to use our voice to share what we've learned, despite the fact that we do get a backlash occasionally. I get a huge backlash, especially from quite a lot of people in the States because of my message about opioids. But I still think it's important and worthwhile sharing it, because I was once at a stage where if anyone had told me that opioids didn't work or weren't the answer, I would have told them exactly where to go. So, you know, I still think it's important to keep on. If people hadn't kept telling me, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I think it's important to share the messages that we have. And as you say, all of them are different. All of them are valid. So, yeah, thank you, Tom.
No, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
We're all different. And you made a very good point there. We're all different. Different things work differently for each of us. We have to find what works best for us. So it's just a matter of becoming aware of all those different tools and then practicing them. And it's just not doing deep breathing once. It's doing deep breathing 2 or 3 times a day, and every day. Do I do it? Not quite. You know, I mean, I probably I talk the talk and not walk the walk half the time. But you know, we're all guilty of that. But you got to practice. You got to practice.
That's a wonderful message to end on. Tom, thank you so much for your time. It's so appreciated. And thank you so much to everyone who came along today for your engagement. It's really valued. And I know that this recording will be uploaded onto the website so that more people can see it and take from us. So thank you so much, Tom.
You're welcome. Thank you again for inviting me.
Not at all. So if we stop